Commander Hannah Park stood on the bridge of the Reclamation, staring at the view screen as the blue-green orb of Earth grew larger. 200 years had passed since humanity was driven from their homeworld by the Talari Dominion. Now, after generations of scattered existence among distant stars, humanity had returned with ships bearing new technologies that could pierce Talari defenses. "All systems operational," Commander said Lieutenant Jun Kim, his eyes never leaving his console. "Phase shift capacitors at 96%. Hannah nodded, touching the small vial of Earth soil hanging from her neck, a family heirloom passed down since the Exodus. "Send the signal to the fleet. Operation Homecoming begins at dawn." The bridge fell silent as her words echoed. 30 ships, the last hope of humanity, now hung in formation at the edge of their ancestral solar system. Hannah felt the weight of billions of souls, both the living scattered across distant colonies and the ghosts of those who had died during the Great Exile. "Command acknowledges," replied Communications Officer Minaryu. "All vessels report ready status." Hannah turned to the tactical display where small green dots represented the human fleet. Their numbers were few compared to what the Talari could bring to bear, but they had surprise on their side. Intelligence suggested the Talari believed humans were extinct or at least confined to distant, struggling outposts. "Tactical analysis complete," reported Security Chief Da1. "Orbital defenses identified. 3 main stations, 16 automated platforms. Estimated response time for Talari reinforcements, 6 hours." Hannah nodded. "Then we have 6 hours to secure a foothold." She moved to the center of the bridge, feeling the eyes of her crew upon her. Many had never seen Earth except in historical records. To them, this blue-green world was more myth than reality. "The Talari took our home because they could," Hannah said, her voice steady. "They believed we were too weak to resist, too divided to return. Today, we proved them wrong." The crew straightened at their stations. Many wore small tokens like Hannah's, pieces of Earth carried through the stars for generations. Soil samples, stones, pressed flowers preserved in stasis fields, fragments of a lost home. Lieutenant Kim looked up from his station. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. The Talari have changed much of Earth's ecosystem." Hannah had expected this. Surveys had shown the Talari had engineered Earth to better suit their biology, changing the atmosphere composition slightly, introducing new flora designed for their needs. "Show me," she ordered. The main screen shifted to display a topographical scan of North America. Where once there had been forests and plains, now strange crystalline structures jutted from the ground. The Great Lakes glowed with an unnatural blue light. "They're mining something," Tactical Officer Jin Kang observed. "Possibly elements from the core." Hannah's jaw tightened. The Talari weren't just occupying Earth, they were consuming it. "How long until we're in firing range?" she asked. 30 minutes, Commander," Kim replied. Hannah returned to her command chair. She opened a small compartment in its arm and withdrew an old paper photograph. Her great-great-grandmother standing before a mountain range, smiling in clean air and natural sunlight. The last generation to know Earth as home. "Commander," Minna called, her voice suddenly tense. "We're detecting transmission activity from the 3rd orbital station. I think they've spotted us." Hannah tucked the photo away. "Earlier than expected. How long until they can alert their homeworld?" "Unknown. Their communications technology has evolved." Hannah made her decision. "Move up the timetable. All ships, prepare for phase shift jump. We attack now." The Reclamation hummed as its engines powered up. The revolutionary phase shift technology, humanity's greatest achievement during their exile, allowed their ships to briefly exist out of phase with normal matter. It was untested in full combat, but remained their best hope. "Phase shift at 80% and rising," Kim reported. Hannah opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Park. The Talari have detected our presence. We've lost the element of complete surprise, but not our resolve. Remember what we fight for. Not just a world, but our world. The cradle of our species. Today, we take back what is ours. The reclamation shuddered as its phase shift drive engaged. For a brief moment, the ship existed in two states at once, here and not here. Through the view screen, Earth seemed to shimmer like a mirage. Phase shift complete. All systems nominal, reported Kim. Weapons hot, added Chief One. Hannah gazed at the approaching Talari orbital defenses. 2 centuries of waiting, planning, and hoping had led to this moment. For Earth, she said quietly, then raised her voice. All ships, engage targets. Operation Homecoming has begun. Major Sung Lee led his ground team through the overgrown ruins of what had once been Seoul. The city was barely recognizable, covered in the pale violet vegetation the Talari had seeded across the planet. Command, we've reached the target, Sung reported, kneeling beside a strange metallic structure pulsing with energy. Confirmed suspicions. They've been drilling toward the core. Above, the human fleet engaged the surprised Talari defenders. The reclamation shimmered and phased, passing straight through enemy fire before rematerializing to deliver devastating counterstrikes. They never expected us to return, Captain Jaiho Kang said with grim satisfaction as the first Talari orbital defense station exploded into fragments. Major Lee signaled his team to deploy sensor devices around the drilling site. The 6 soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, their faces hidden behind helmets designed to filter the altered Earth atmosphere. Though breathable, the air carried spores from the alien vegetation that caused mild hallucinations in humans. Stay alert, Lee warned as a distant howl echoed through the ruins. The Talari brought their hunting beasts with them. Sergeant Ta Han checked his weapon. Permission to set up defense perimeter, sir. Granted. Do not engage unless necessary. We need to study this site first. Lee approached the drilling mechanism, his scanner picking up intense energy readings. The device extended deep into the ground, pulsing with blue-white light at regular intervals. Around it, the violet vegetation grew thicker, feeding on whatever energy leaked from the machine. Dr. Yuna Bai, your analysis. Lee called to the science officer in his team. Dr. Bai ran her specialized scanner over the structure. It's converting Earth's core materials into something they call Nexium. It's an element not found on their homeworld but essential to their advanced technology. So they're literally eating our planet, Lee muttered. Yes. At this rate, Earth's magnetic field will collapse in approximately 50 years. In orbit, the battle intensified. The reclamation led the human fleet in a complex attack pattern designed to confuse Talari targeting systems. Commander Park's voice came through the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, focus fire on Defense Station Gamma. Ground teams report core drilling operations. The Talari are mining Earth's core for resources. The reclamation shifted into phase again, becoming ghostly and translucent. Enemy fire passed harmlessly through its hull. When it rematerialized, it was behind the Talari station, its weapons firing at point-blank range. On the bridge, Captain Kang watched as the station's outer ring shattered. Direct hit. Their shields are failing. Commander Park nodded. All ships press the advantage. We need to secure orbital control before their reinforcements arrive. Back on the surface, Lee's team had completed their scans of the drilling site. Command, we gathered all necessary data, requesting permission to disable this facility. Permission granted, came the reply. But be advised, we're detecting Talari ground forces moving toward your position. Estimated arrival, 10 minutes. Lee turned to his explosives expert. Corporal Min, prepare to disable this drilling site. Everyone else, defensive positions. Corporal Min quickly assessed the structure. Sir, if we destroy it outright, it could trigger a massive energy discharge. I recommend we disrupt its control systems instead. Do it, Lee ordered. Dr. Bai, assist him. While they worked, Lee and the others scanned the surrounding ruins. Once this had been a thriving district of Seoul. Now only the basic shapes of buildings remained, covered in the strange violet growth. Here and there, Lee could make out signs of the old world, a partially preserved storefront sign, the remains of an automated vehicle. "Sir," Sergeant Hand called, "I'm picking up movement. 300 meters and closing." Lee raised his binoculars. Through them, he saw a Talari patrol, 6 tall, insectoid forms moving with eerie grace through the ruins. Their exoskeletons reflected the sunlight, and each carried a weapon that seemed to be part mechanical, part biological. "How much longer?" Lee asked, turning back to Min and Ba. "Almost done," Min replied, carefully connecting a device to the drilling machine's control panel. "This will overload their systems and force a shutdown. It should look like a technical failure rather than sabotage." 30 seconds, Dr. Ba added. In orbit, the battle had turned decidedly in humanity's favor. 2 Talari defense stations had been destroyed, and the third was heavily damaged. The human fleet had surrounded it, their phase shift technology rendering Talari weapons nearly useless. "Status report," Commander Park demanded. "Minor damage to 3 ships," reported Lieutenant Kim. "No casualties. Talari orbital defenses at 20% capacity." "Excellent. Prepare landing craft for the second wave of ground teams." On the planet's surface, Corporal Min finished his work on the drilling machine. "Done, sir. We should move now. It will shut down in 2 minutes." Lee nodded. "Team, prepare to fall back to extraction point Delta." He activated his communication device. "Command, target neutralized. Requesting extraction. We have Talari forces approaching our position." As if on cue, energy blasts struck near their position. The Talari patrol had spotted them. "Take cover," Lee shouted as his team scattered behind the ruins. Sergeant Han returned fire, his weapon designed specifically to penetrate Talari exoskeletons. One of the aliens fell, but the others advanced, splitting up to flank the human position. "Command, we're engaged with enemy forces," Lee reported, firing his own weapon. "Need immediate extraction." "Understood, Major," came the reply. "Dropship inbound. ETA 3 minutes. Hold your position." As the firefight intensified, the drilling machine behind them began to stutter and spark. The blue-white light flickered and died as Min's sabotage took effect. "It worked," Dr. Ba called out. "The drilling has stopped." "Now we just need to survive to report it," Lee replied grimly, as more Talari reinforcements appeared on the horizon. The respite was brief. Within days, a massive Talari armada arrived, their ships bristling with weapons beyond anything human intelligence had reported. Scatter protocol in effect. Commander Park ordered as the reclamation took heavy damage. The human fleet dispersed, using asteroid fields and planetary shadows for cover. On the surface, Dr. Yang Choi made a startling discovery in her mobile lab. "Commander, these soil samples contain bacteria that survived their terraforming. The Talari biotech is reacting negatively to it. Their systems are vulnerable to Earth's original microbiome." The Talari began systematically bombing former human cities, determined to eliminate any foothold the returning humans had established. Commander Park gripped the edge of her command console as another blast rocked the reclamation. Damage reports flooded in from all decks. The ship's phase shift drive sparked and sputtered, unable to fully engage after taking a direct hit from the new Talari weapons. "Status report," she demanded, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. Lieutenant Kim's voice was steady despite the chaos. "Hull breach on Deck 4, sealed. Phase shift drive at 30% capacity. Weapons systems still online." Through the view screen, Park watched as the Talari flagship emerged from the darkness of space. It dwarfed all other vessels, shaped like an enormous pointed spear with pulsing energy lines running along its hull. "That was not in our intelligence briefings," muttered Captain Kang. "The Talari Supreme Commander himself has come," Park said. "They're taking our return more seriously than we anticipated." She opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships implement scatter protocol immediately. Rendezvous at emergency coordinates when able. The human fleet broke formation, ships darting in different directions. The reclamation limped behind the dark side of Earth's moon, using the natural satellite as cover. The other ships, Park asked. Most made it to their scatter points. Minna reported from communications. The Horizon and New Dawn took heavy damage. They're going dark to make repairs. Park nodded grimly. Their initial victory had been impressive but short-lived. The Talari had responded with overwhelming force, bringing weapons that could track ships even in phase shift. "Commander," Minna called. "Incoming transmission from the surface. It's Dr. Choi's team." The main screen shifted to show Dr. Yang Choi's face. The scientist was working in what appeared to be an underground bunker, her mobile lab set up among ancient human ruins. "Commander Park, I have critical information," Dr. Choi said urgently. "We've been analyzing soil samples from areas the Talari haven't fully terraformed. The original Earth bacteria in these samples are causing unexpected reactions in Talari biotech." Park leaned forward. "What kind of reactions?" "Degradation. Failure. Their technology isn't just mechanical, it's partially biological. And it's not compatible with Earth's native microbiome." Dr. Choi held up a Petri dish containing what looked like a piece of Talari equipment now covered in mold. This was part of a Talari communication device. The Earth bacteria attacked it like an infection. Hope sparked in Park's chest. "Can we weaponize this?" "Possibly. We need more time to." Dr. Choi's transmission suddenly filled with static. When it cleared, the scientist looked panicked. "They're bombing the surface. They know we're here." The transmission cut off as the bunker shook around Dr. Choi and her team. "Get me Major Lee's ground forces," Park ordered. Seconds later, Major Lee's face appeared on screen. He was in a different location, a natural cave system that provided better protection from orbital bombardment. "Commander, the Talari are systematically targeting all former human population centers," Lee reported. "They're using some kind of energy weapon that penetrates deep underground. We've lost contact with 3 ground teams already." "Can you extract Dr. Choi's team?" Park asked. "We're trying, but the bombardment is making movement on the surface nearly impossible." Park made a quick decision. "Get to Dr. Choi if you can. Her discovery about the bacteria could be our best chance against the Talari." She turned to her bridge crew. "We need to draw their fire away from the surface teams." Captain Kang looked concerned. "The phase shift drive is barely functional. We can't engage them directly." "We don't need to fight them. Just distract them." Park activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Engineering, give me whatever power you can to the phase shift drive, even if it's only for a few seconds." On Earth's surface, Major Lee led a small team through underground tunnel systems that predated the Talari invasion. Ancient human subway tunnels and maintenance passageways had become vital pathways for the resistance forces. "How much farther to Dr. Choi's position?" Lee asked his navigator. "About 2 kilometers, came the reply. "But there's a section ahead that's partially collapsed from the bombardment." Above them, they could hear the muffled sounds of energy weapons striking the surface. The Talari were methodically destroying every structure that might harbor humans. "Commander Park is drawing their fire," Lee told his team. "We need to move quickly." When they reached the collapsed section, they had to dig through rubble by hand to avoid detection by Talari sensors. It took precious minutes they couldn't afford. Finally breaking through, they found Dr. Choi and 2 surviving members of her team huddled in what remained of their lab. Much of their equipment was destroyed, but Dr. Choi clutched a sealed container. "The samples," she explained when Lee reached her. "I saved what matters." In orbit, the reclamation emerged from behind the moon, weapons firing at maximum range to draw attention away from the surface. As expected, several Talari warships immediately broke off their bombardment to pursue. "Phase shift drive ready for 1 burst," engineering reported. 10 seconds maximum. Hold until the last possible moment." Park ordered. The Talari ships closed rapidly, their weapons charging. Just as they fired, Park gave the command. Now, the reclamation shimmered and partially phased, the enemy fire passing through with minimal damage. The effect lasted only seconds before the drive failed completely, but it was enough to surprise the Talari again. They still don't fully understand how our technology works, Park realized. That gives us an advantage. As the reclamation retreated back toward the asteroid belt, Park received a transmission from Major Lee. Commander, we have Dr. Choi and her samples. Moving to extraction point now. Park allowed herself a small smile. They had suffered setbacks, but not defeat. If Dr. Choi's discovery about Earth's bacteria proved viable, they might yet have a chance against the overwhelming Talari forces. The Earth itself is fighting back, she murmured. And so will we. Release the bacterial agent, Hannah ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the decision. Within hours, Talari ground forces began experiencing equipment failures as their biotech armor and weapons malfunctioned. Lieutenant Kim intercepted communications indicating panic among Talari command. Meanwhile, Major Lee's team captured a Talari communications hub, discovering transmissions from a faction calling themselves the Enlightened Ones, Talari who opposed their leadership's militaristic policies. They want to talk, Sun reported. They say they've been preserving human artifacts. Commander, I think they've developed a fascination with our culture. Dr. Young Choi stood in the makeshift lab aboard the Reclamation, watching the deployment ships launch toward Earth. Each carried canisters of the bacterial agent she had developed from Earth's native microbes. She wondered if this made her a hero or something else entirely. Will it kill them? Commander Park asked, joining her at the observation window. No, Dr. Choi replied. It targets only their biotech. Their weapons, ships, and communication systems will fail, but the Talari themselves will survive. She paused. Though without their technology, they'll be vulnerable. Park nodded. That's what we need. A chance to negotiate from strength, not genocide. On Earth's surface, the bacterial agent spread quickly through water systems and air currents. The effect on Talari operations was immediate and devastating. Their vehicles stopped functioning. Their communication networks went silent. The sophisticated biotech armor that made them nearly invincible in combat began to decay while still attached to their bodies. Lieutenant Kim monitored the crisis from his station on the bridge. Commander, intercepted transmissions show complete chaos in Talari ranks. Their Supreme Commander has ordered a retreat to orbital positions, but many of their ships can't take off. Park allowed herself a small smile. Maintain position. Let's see how they respond to being vulnerable for a change. In what had once been the center of Busan, Major Lee's team moved swiftly through abandoned Talari positions. The aliens had fled, leaving behind malfunctioning equipment and weapons. The team's objective was a large structure that intelligence had identified as a major communications hub. Perimeter secure, Surgeon Han reported. No active Talari signatures detected. Major Lee nodded. Move in. Remember, we need their systems intact. Inside, they found what appeared to be a control center, with strange crystalline interfaces glowing with dim light. Most were inactive, affected by the bacterial agent, but one terminal still functioned. Dr. Ba, can you access their systems? Lee asked. The science officer approached the alien terminal cautiously. Their technology is unlike anything in our briefings. It seems to respond to both touch and something else, perhaps bioelectric signals. Can you make it work? Dr. Ba hesitated. Maybe. Let me try something. She placed her hand on the interface and closed her eyes, concentrating. To everyone's surprise, the crystal responded, glowing brighter. It's scanning me, she explained, testing compatibility. The screen suddenly came alive, displaying Talari script that flowed and changed like living things. It's a message system, Dr. Ba said, studying the patterns. And there's a message directed at humans specifically. Lee moved closer. Can you translate it? Partially. Our linguistics database recognizes some patterns from previous encounters. She worked for several minutes before looking up in surprise. Major, this is from a Talari faction calling themselves the Enlightened Ones. They're reaching out to us. What do they want? They say they oppose the military occupation of Earth. They've been. She paused, checking her translation again. Preserving human artifacts and studying our history. They want to establish communication. Lee activated his comlink. Commander Park, we've made a significant discovery. There appears to be a Talari resistance movement. They'd been collecting and preserving human cultural items. On the reclamation, Park received the news with cautious optimism. Can we trust this, Major? Unknown. But their message includes technical details about a secure communication channel. It seems genuine. Park considered her options. The bacterial agent had given them an unexpected advantage, but it was temporary. Talari reinforcements would eventually develop countermeasures. Set up the communication link, but maintain security protocols, she ordered. I want to hear what these enlightened ones have to say. Hours later, in a secured communication room, Park faced a view screen showing the Talari for the first time in direct conversation. The alien's exoskeleton was paler than others they had seen, with intricate markings that indicated high status in their society. I am Ven, speaker for the Enlightened. The Talari introduced itself, its voice translated by the ship's computer. We have awaited your return for generations. Park's eyes narrowed. Awaited? Your people drove us from our planet. Not my people, Ven corrected. The militancy. Those who rule through conquest. We are scholars, preservationists. We have protected your world's history while they stripped its resources. Prove it, Park demanded. The screen changed to show an enormous underground chamber. Inside were thousands of human artifacts. Artwork, books, technology, all carefully preserved. A museum of humanity created by aliens. We believe your species created something we could not, Ven explained as the image returned to his face. Art that speaks to emotions we barely comprehend. History that teaches lessons we need to learn. The militancy sees only resources to exploit. We see wonder. Park found herself speechless. This was nothing like the enemy they had prepared to fight. The militancy will recover from your bacterial weapon, Ven continued. When they do, they will destroy everything rather than surrender Earth, unless we work together. What exactly are you proposing? Park asked. An alliance. Our knowledge of Talari weaknesses, your determination to reclaim your home. Together, we can create something neither of our peoples imagined. A shared world. Lieutenant Kim's voice interrupted through the comm system. Commander, Talari orbital forces are regrouping. Their flagship is showing signs of activity. Park looked back at the alien on screen. We don't have much time to decide, do we? No, Ven agreed. But perhaps that is appropriate. The greatest decisions rarely come with the luxury of time. The final battle occurred over what had once been the Pacific Ocean. The reclamation, despite heavy damage, phased directly into the command section of the Talari flagship. Supreme Commander Hannah Park faced Supreme Director Nock, the Talari leader. We took your world because we admired it, Nock explained, gesturing to the collection of human art and literature displayed in his chamber. Your species created beauty we could never imagine. 6 months later, Hannah walked along a restored beach in what had once been Busan. Nearby, human families were building new homes alongside Talari structures. The agreement to share Earth had been controversial, but already the joint restoration projects were showing promise. She watched as a human child and a young Talari cautiously approached each other at the shoreline, curiosity overcoming fear. Hannah smiled, feeling the weight of 2 centuries of exile finally lifting from her shoulders. Earth belonged to all who would protect it now.